Welcome to the Half Hour to Health. Now this is one of the more fun health talks because we get to find out why. Now if we look at, say, food additives, first off, reading labels, that's kind of boring. But why would they even put in food additives in there? Well, this is what they do. Now let's say we're no longer consumers, okay? Let's say we're actually manufacturers. So now we're looking at food additives from a different vantage point. They're going to improve the nutritional value. This means that if you take pasteurized milk, the pasteurization process destroys some of the nutrients. If you homogenize it, you're removing the saturated fats off of which means you're removing most of the nutritional value. In order to still call it a food product, we got to call it vitamin D enhanced. So they'll say whole milk enriched with vitamin D. So in a lot of times when you say improved nutritional value, they're doing it because they have to, because they've already removed the natural vitamins and nutrients from it. Now it enhances the quality and color, acceptable, food color, taste. That's the MSG. Improving the quality or keeping the shelf life. Making food more readily available, facilitate its preparation, increase quantity or yield, or speed up production. So from a manufacturing standpoint, food additives make sense. But I don't see anything on here that says it adds to the health or quality of your life. I don't see anything where it adds to how you can detox or get nutrients to your system. Let's find out what they are, because if they do those additives, what is a food additive? First off, pesticides, fungicides, and herbicides. If you take, say, a package of food, anybody know the shelf life of Top Ramen?
Forever.
I think it's decades. Okay, but now why do bugs not eat it, and why does fungus not grow on it, and why? Well, first off, okay, it has fungicides and herbicides in it, and some pesticides. I know it doesn't sound as appetizing now, but also preservatives. It's used to prolong the shelf life, coloring agents, okay, hormones, steroids, and antibiotics in food. Yeah, you're going to see why. Neurotoxins, this means things that are toxic to the central nervous system. Now, cytotoxins are something a little bit different. These are toxic not just to the nervous system, but they have a chain reaction where they actually demyelinate and destroy your health. Also, genetic engineering, they can actually add viruses, bacteria, or genes. Radiation, they're starting to irradiate foods because, again, that kills funguses and viruses, and that adds to the shelf life. Now, 70% of all antibiotics used in this country are in animal food. Isn't anyone going to say, well, why?
What?
I'm so glad. Okay, well, if you understand, if you're raising animals in an enclosed environment like this, like factory farms, you're going to produce sick animals. Now, it used to take 5 years to grow a full-grown, a little tiny baby calf to a full-grown steer where we could kill it and then sell its part and eat it. Now we can do that, not in 5 years, but in 13 months. Okay, now you might say, wow, that's pretty fast. Yeah, well, what happens when you grow an animal that fast, they get sick. Now, if anybody has a child in here that we could experiment around with, okay, well, maybe not. If you were to force feed a little child Snicker bars, okay, just day in and day out, they'd get really, really big, really, really fat, but also really, really sick. So what happens is when we start seeing factory farms, they force feed them corn. And the cow's digestive tract is not designed to metabolize corn. They're designed to eat grass. So this means that not only do they get sick, they have to give antibiotics to keep the creature alive long enough. So remember, the old days, 4 to 5 years to grow the calf to full grown. Now we can do it in 13 months. But the cows or the animals are very, very sick. Now the problem is, if we're feeding them antibiotics, does this get in the food? If we're feeding them pesticides, does this get into the food? Yeah, it does, absolutely. So any commercial meat, so like the beautiful commercials that you look at Carl's Jr., there's nothing prettier than a Carl's Jr. burger. Okay, but it's loaded with pesticides, MSG, and antibiotics. Now, this is interesting. Antibiotics used during childhood. Now, any kids eating commercially produced meats? Yeah. Well, they say, according to the American Journal of Epidemiology, if you utilize antibiotics in children, it increases their risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. This is a blood cancer. They also did an additional study on here and says also non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. This is Tylenol, ibuprofen, Motrin, Advil. that also increases the risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Go on, say it with me. Wow, that's, we take a pain reliever and can cause cancer? Yeah, that's bad. But let's look at the health facts, and this is hugely important. Half of the people, and this is not this room, we're just talking about the average person in America, 50% are going to get cancer. And I put will earn cancer? Yeah, because cancer is not genetic. You actually got to work hard to get it. 50% will die of heart disease. In fact, 5 out of 6 Americans are going to die of either heart disease or cancer. And the tough part is neither one of those are genetic. They're all lifestyle choices. And we're going to change how your choices are made in your lifestyle right now. 30% will learn diabetes. You'll learn exactly where diabetes comes from. 25% of the kids are misdiagnosed with ADD or ADHD. Do you think that's diet related? You're going to know it's diet related in a couple of seconds. 25% of the kids have asthma. And what's interesting, if you look at cancer as a cause of disease in kids before 1940, it was almost non-existent. Now cancer is the leading cause of death from kids from disease in America. And that's tough. Now understand, you are genetically programmed for health. You are. You're designed to thrive in this environment. So these diseases we're talking about are not genetic. None of those are genetic. Now, if you look at this system, anything, and this I got to teach you a little anatomy, because the more you know about how your body functions, the more you're going to be aware anything you put in your body really has a powerful effect. Anything you put in the stomach gets sloshed around with the acids. It gets broken down into the protein, fats, or carbohydrates. It goes through the intestines and literally goes through the wall of the intestine to the liver, where the liver is a giant enzyme factory where it breaks down those protein, fats, and carbohydrates and literally forms human cells. So you can make eye tissue out of that hormone-free, range-free meat. You can make broccoli, okay, or you can convert broccoli into skin tissue. I mean, this is the only system in the world. But the problem is, if you put a Tylenol in here, it does the same thing. You put trans fatty acids in here, it breaks it down, so you have liver deposits. You put any type of toxic chemical in here, such as herbicides or pesticides, that also goes through and damages the liver. This is how most people treat their system. You're looking at McDonald's, donuts, Coke. Those are not food products. That's not food. It shouldn't be in the human system. In fact, our bodies aren't designed for it. Now, here's a question, and I ask this of every group. If drugs and surgery were free and unlimited, okay, let's just say that we had universal health care. Would the health of the population improve or decline? Decline. Everybody. 100% of the people, it doesn't matter what group I talk to, they say, oh my gosh, it'd go down. Yeah, so obviously more drugs and surgery, that's kind of dumb. The quality of your life depends on the quality of questions you ask. Why? Why do I have the symptom? Why do I have the heart disease? Why did I get cancer? Why did I get... And the answers are very essential. All diseases come from deficiency or toxicity. Now, I used to put 96% of all diseases come from deficiency or toxicity, and that's not true. What we're finding out now is that there's a genetic shift happening on the planet. There's more birth defects happening now than have ever happened before. And this isn't because we have more people, it's more on a percentage or population basis. The genes are actually changing because of our healthcare and our food practices. And this is, I read 4 journals every day. So I'm seeing stuff. I know. I'm not a real popular guy, okay, but I read a lot. Morning, night, lunch, everything. Yeah, I'm a studyholic. But understand, there's a massive shift thinking about how can genes change this rapidly, because our genetic makeup hasn't changed in 40,000 years, but we're starting to see them break down. And one of the reasons is the vaccination procedures that we're doing. We're seeing a grandma who had 1 vaccination give birth to a child who had 15 vaccinations, give birth to a child today who has 74 vaccinations, give birth to a child who has God knows what's going to happen in the next 5 years. Okay, that's radically changing the genome. But understand that all diseases stem from deficiency or toxicity. There's no evil gene or bug out there.